let's talk a little bit more, about some of those Santa Clara days. And I'm gonna be honest with you that I got some help from some of your friends. I won't expose them. They'll know who they are. You know who you are, right, Ralph?
Yes.
You do that. You know.
You know who you are.
Who tossed me some meat here to throw at you. So I had a great question that came in. It said, in your early days at SCV, you wrote some music that on paper seemed easy to play, but in truth it was difficult. You were exploring, like you said, sound and touch and quality of sound, as opposed to, oh man, this is apparently what he's saying is it was easy looking on the paper. Well, listen, Scheherazade looks really easy on paper. So doesn't Bolero, but go ahead and try to play that. In an audition,
that's
right?
interesting because I used to think it was easy too until I heard the guys play it, and the guys remember I used to apologize to them sometimes because you go to a show and you're warming up without the pit and it's just a drum line, and you see all the exposures that were written in, and I used to go, oh guys, man, this stuff is really, really hard, as opposed to, the flam rudiments and the cheeses and all this. It was just a musical touch, if you will, that we had on the drums and shaping. And I got all of that again from Fred, and they were playing classical music, and he made it sound great and fresh all the time. And I went, I want to do that. So I had an idea of what I was looking for, and it was like three voices, like vocals. There was the soprano voice, and there was the tenor and bass zone, and then there's the baritone and this and that. And I really looked at it that way. The tenors, the quad voices, or whatever, were always kind of contrapuntal the way I used to write a lot, because they had more drums to deal with. And so everybody knew the bass because of the tone of the drum. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew the snare because of the tone and the pitch. And the tenor thing was, it had gone through quite a stage, because it used to be single tenors. I played that when I was in the Velvet Knights when I first started in 1967. But then we played match grip, and so things started changing. We're playing snare parts. But really just looking at like a chord, or between the tenors and basses, just a stack of chords, how we used to voice it. But then all the dynamics and the stuff that I learned, especially from studying with Tony Cerrone and Charles Dowd, portraits and rhythms, the stuff was written into the book. And you'd have to have a discussion with him before you played anything, and to make sure you understood what you were doing and not just playing notes. For instance, I can't think it's number 32 or 34 or something. There's a bolero piece that Mr. Cerrone has in his book, and it's that that's a bolero, right? Mm-hmm. But what he did with it was put every time signature that was available to us, okay? So you weren't just faking it, because you had to tap your foot to every signature. So you would be in the 16ths, 5/8, 4/4, 2, 3. He had it bouncing all over the place, and you had to tap your foot, and otherwise it was cut. So there was some shaping involved, and we were learning about shaping, and drums aren't just noise makers. It's not something like you look at a bass drum, you think boom. You look at cymbals, you think crash. You look at a gong and you think everything is hard, hard and loud. But you start listening to some of what some of the classical guys did with these instruments, and there was other beautiful sounds coming out of them at different dynamic levels, like a bass drum, a concert bass, a gong, or any of those instruments I mentioned earlier, are so sweet at the pianissimo level. Mm-hmm. They got some groovy sounds coming out. Mm-hmm. Okay, then technique, it takes technique to do that, as rudimental drumming does too, but it's a different kind of technique that we were bringing to the activity, Fred and I and a few people. And people would say, well, you're the musical line and so-and-so's the clean line. I'm going, well, wait a minute. I'm only like 2 or 3 tenths behind him, so shouldn't I be the one that's winning? You know? But no, those guys are perfect. I'm going, yeah, but I'm still only 2 or 3 tenths behind him in execution. So the musical guy, and then being 2 or 3 tenths behind the hottest, cleanest drum lines, sounds to me like, but nobody would buy it. You know? But that was our thing, is, you know, trying to teach music, and a lot of the influences were from some of the books that we had. You know, even Goldberg, that had snare drum and keyboard stuff, and Mitchell Peters' books, and then all the Couturiers and guys like that, the French, you know, composers, and Delacroix, and all those guys that were different from just some of the standard, you know. I mean, I got interested in doing research and finding out more about making music. And of course, you know, we get turned on to percussion ensembles, legit percussion ensembles in college, and I'm going, that's what I'm talking about. There it is right there. You know, you're not downstroking, you're playing off of the instruments. Mm-hmm. You're not hammering the timpani, you're playing off of it. You're not chucking on the gong, you know, like you're getting ready to hit a home run out of the park, you're playing off of the bars. So that was a big thing of introducing that sound to my guys. It's pretty tough sometimes, you know, because sometimes it was like, and I got this from Fred, play it like this. I want it to sound like this. And Fred started that. He made up exercises out of stuff so they can practice it over and over again, and he'd play along all the time, and I jumped on that. Started playing, going, I know it's written like this. I know it looks quantized, but we're not playing quantized. It's like jazz, you know? You know what to do when you see 2 eighth notes, and it's jazz eighth notes, okay? It changes, you know. So, you know, those are the things that we're introducing to the kids about, you know, the big word these days, or everybody talks, the word says touch. Okay, I'm not sure everybody still knows what it means, though, but they're starting to figure it out. Getting the people to play with the same touch is a very hard thing to do. It's the same thing like a string section. You know, I've done clinics in the past with kids, and it says, has anybody ever gone to a symphony, orchestra, concert, or anything? And a lot of kids are eager to have a chance to raise their hand and go, yeah, I've been there. You know, because it's a special thing. And go, yeah. It says, have you ever looked at the violin section, how tight they are, and the bows are up? You know, I'm talking to rudimental drummers, and they're going, yeah. I said, so do you think they practice their bow heights? And everybody looked at me and went, whoa. And I'm going, no. So there's something to say about music interpretation, okay, which is a thing that motivated me. You get everybody to interpret things the same way. Then you can dress it up. Joey down a little bit. Ronnie up a little bit high right here. So it wasn't a distinct height set thing. It was the sounds that you were making. The pianissimo was really a piano. Not, oh, you mean level 1. No, I mean pianissimo. You know, I'm not getting into that language, and I was really stuffy about it, and still kind of am, you know. So level 2 guys, and I'm going, it's not level 2. I'm not, get that out of your head, because, you know, within 2 counts, you're going to be at level 12 and back at level 1 or whatever it is you guys are talking about. So why don't we just stick with the little P's? You know, those Italian guys are great. They had it all figured out. Allegro, allegretto, lento, largo. You know, they had it all down. Pianissimo, mezzo forte. How about those things that we have already? Mm-hmm. I understand why the height thing, but that's a different kind of clarity and a different kind of approach. And I think what we called a musical approach, what a lot of people are trying to get in on right now, is a lot more difficult. It's a lot more challenging.
More mature.
Definitely, because, you know, now that we've gotten the pit thing started, you know, Hannum Ralph, there's another name too, the kind of thing that we started for drum corps. But, you know, they said, here's our rudimental stuff over here, and right, these are the musicians. And I'm going, no, everybody's musicians. Come on, man, don't do that. I'm trying to make it all the music stuff. It's not, you know, let's look at it as a whole. So it's one of many ways in our activity.
Absolutely.
You know, and it all works, but everybody wants to hear the cleanest beats first, regardless. Is, you know, which I like about our activity. It's got to be clean, man. You know, and now it's got to be clean and really hard. And Shirley Murphy's and, you know, book reports and all the little flippity doodahs and stick visuals, and, you know, I mean, it's graduating the same thing, but it's still about the touch and the clarity. Okay, and everybody's figuring out the music part too. They really are.